Good morning and welcome to Daily Red Devil for all of your latest Manchester United transfer news and talk. And as always, we're back with another massive show to bring you all this morning. But before we jump into that, please do smash a like on the video. Please do subscribe to the channel if you're new, and let's get straight on into it. So on the show this morning, we are going to be talking about a big injury boost for Manchester United. We do have some positivity finally, which is nice to wake up to on a Monday morning, to be honest, because it's been a miserable old week for being a Manchester United fan, isn't it? We've had all of the Sancho stuff, the Antony situation, a bad loss to Brighton. There's people saying the manager should be sacked. It's all a bit negative, but we do have some big injury news to bring you this morning. So we'll talk about that in a minute. We'll also be talking a little bit about Antony. There has been another development since we spoke last night, which I guess is positive. We'll talk about that in a minute. And we'll also have a bit of a part of the show where I open up the chat to you guys and we're going to discuss the question, is Erik ten Hag's job safe? Now, I just want to say from the off, I think it is, but I want to get you guys' opinions. I fully back Erik ten Hag, just to be very, very clear. I think he's the right man for the job. But as always, this is a community where I do like to get other people's opinions. So we're all going to be able to have an opportunity to have our opinions, get our say. I'll read out some of your messages. We can all have a big chat about it later on in the show. But let's jump straight on into it, though. Let's start with the injury news then. Let's start with some positivity, because I know a lot of you are probably feeling a bit miserable this morning. Now, this is come directly from Erik ten Hag speaking about Mason Mount and Raphael Varane. And he says, both are in a good place and will be shortly coming back. And there is even talk that apparently both players might be available for the game against Bayern Munich on Wednesday. Now, I think that is a massive, massive boost. Our defence is leaking goals at the moment. Onana's been getting a lot of blame, okay? But when you actually look at the stats, right, I did a video on this last night. In our first 5 Premier League games, Onana has faced 29 shots on target. 29. That is crazy, right? If you compare that to this time last season, David De Gea had faced 10 shots on target in his first 5 games. Now, the reason I bring this up is because it just shows how bad the actual defence are playing at the moment. Onana gets a lot of criticism. I criticised him on the weekend. I said, why did we sign him? So I'm not going to shy away from what I said. But when you actually look at the stats and you actually break it down, you can't just pin all of this blame on Onana. Lisandro Martinez hasn't been up to speed. Lindelof hasn't been up to speed. Obviously, we had Diogo Dalot at left back, which kind of worked. Wan-Bissaka is apparently injured now. You know, our defence is a mess at the moment. Raphael Varane's out injured. Luke Shaw's out injured, etc., etc. And we are leaking opportunities and we're leaking goals against lesser teams. We were 2-0 down against Nottingham Forest after 5 minutes. I mean, that kind of just sums it up, doesn't it? But the reason I'm going on about this is I think that Raphael Varane coming back is a massive, massive boost for Manchester United. I think he's a very, very important player for us. His injury record really does worry me, but we need him. We need him desperately this season. Until we can bring in a younger, less injury-prone replacement, he is our best defender. And would everybody agree with that? Let me know in the comment section. Do you think Varane is our best defender? I think he is, by a long way. I like Lisandro Martinez. He had a great season last year, but he hasn't looked up to the plate so far this season. Obviously, the game against Brighton on the weekend, he was pretty poor, to be honest. Was that because he'd just come back from Argentina? Obviously, a lot of those international players had probably only been in the UK for less than 24 hours in between the games, you know, because they were off in Argentina, doing the international stuff and then had to fly straight back for the game. So I do wonder whether that maybe had a bit of an impact on some of our players, you know, the Casemiros, Lisandro Martinez's, all of those ones who were on the other side of the world doing international duty. Maybe that's why they looked a bit sluggish. I don't know. Maybe I'm giving excuses for them. I don't know. But I think Varane coming back is a massive, massive bit of news. But let me know how you feel about that one. Do you think it's as big a bit of news as I'm making it out to be? I think it is for me personally. I think Varane is our best defender. I think he's obviously got the most experience. He's got the best football brain. And he commands that area. I think Varane and Martinez work well together. One of them's very tall. One of them's not so much. And I think they both complement each other very well. So hopefully our prayers are answered and we will see him on Wednesday against Bayern Munich. Now, touching on the defence quickly, there's somebody in the chat who's just brought this up, so I did want to bring it into the show. So there's a story going around on Twitter saying that apparently Aaron Wan-Bissaka is out for at least a couple of months due to a hamstring injury. Now, quite a few of the big accounts have picked up this story. Now, I just want to be clear. This original story, okay, it's come from an account with 600 followers on Twitter. And then some of the bigger accounts have kind of reposted the story. Some of the, what are they called, aggregators? You know, those football accounts like United, blah, 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 United something, you know, all of those ones on Twitter who post different bits of news and stuff. they've kind of all started reposting this story, and the original source was from someone with 600 followers. So I'm not sure about this one, but apparently Aaron Wan-Bissaka is out for at least a couple of months due to a hamstring injury. I could have, put that in the video title today, but I was a little bit unconvinced by the source. I think 600 followers. I mean, literally, the person on Twitter is called Insider United. It says info on all the squad injuries and team gossip, and it's got 600 followers. And the account was made like a month ago. I'm not sure if I believe it, to be honest. Personally, let me know what you guys think. Do you believe these types of people on Twitter, these random accounts with 600 followers who make out that they know that Wan-Bissaka is injured for 2 months? I think we would have found out that by now, but yeah. And big ups to Dang Sham, who has been a member for 2 months. Hope you're doing well, mate. Right, let's have a look if I can see the story anywhere else. But as far as I could see, it was just one account with 600 followers saying that he's out for 2 weeks. Sorry, 2 months. Yeah, I think it's rubbish. I mean, he played in the game on Saturday, didn't he? So I don't really see how he can be out for 2 months, but it is what it is, isn't it? Let's hope that he's all right, because I think Wan-Bissaka is very important for this team. But yeah, so Raphael Varane should be back this week. Mason Mount should be back this week. And you know what? I think we need Mason Mount now. I do. I think Mason Mount, as much criticism as he got from some of these Manchester United fans, I think that we desperately need him back. I really, really do. I don't like seeing Bruno on the right wing. I don't think Eriksen's good enough anymore, so I don't really want to see Eriksen playing. I want Bruno to go back to number 10, and I want Mason Mount to play on the right wing. Obviously, or Pellistri, either or. I don't want to see Bruno Fernandes on the right wing anymore. It just doesn't work for me. I don't like it. And I think that Mason Mount coming back should allow Ten Hag to put Bruno in his natural position, and then he'll probably play Mason Mount as the right winger. But let me know what you guys think. Would you put Mason Mount straight back into that team? Do you think that is the good option to do? Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section on that one. Right, let's move on to the next story though. We want to talk a little bit about Antony quickly. So obviously we brought you a story last night that was coming out from James Ducker in the Telegraph, saying that apparently a police report had been filed 3 months prior to Manchester United signing Antony from Ajax, right? And obviously this raised a lot of alarm bells. The video got a lot of attention, as you can imagine, because people were like, how the hell have Manchester United been so incompetent? How did they not know that this was going on, and all the rest of it, which obviously I completely agree with. Now there's a story coming out this morning. It's not directly on that same point that we were talking about yesterday, but it is to do with the case. And it says, this is coming out from a couple of different journalists in the UK this morning, and it says, one of the 3 women to accuse Antony of violent behaviour has apparently now dropped their case. So if anybody's unaware what's been going on, there's 3 women in Brazil who've all taken legal action against Antony over domestic violence, domestic abuse, whatever you want to call it. Obviously, it's an allegation at the moment. He hasn't been proved guilty or innocent, but one of those 3 women has apparently now dropped the case. So there's now only 2 alleged victims who have a case against Antony. Now, obviously, we don't know what's going to happen with those 2, but one of them has dropped the case. So I don't know. I'm not sure exactly what's happened there. Obviously there was some WhatsApp scripts that were some manuscripts that were leaked and stuff, where they were saying that they wanted to there was all sorts of things going on there, but yeah, so we're down to 2. There's 2 people now who have a case against Antony. We'll obviously keep you updated on what goes on with that one. Obviously it's not a particularly nice topic to be talking about, but obviously at the end of the day, the most important whoever's made up these stories should be guilty of it. So it says De Freitas and the other woman in the car accused each other of assault. De Freitas initially accused Antony of assault, but she is understood to have subsequently withdrawn the allegation. So yeah, it was De Freitas. I don't know who that is, to be honest. Assume it's one of these. Let's have a look. De Freitas. I've not really been following this situation that closely, to be honest. I obviously see all the stuff popping up, but I'm not obsessing about it, because I just think after the whole Mason Greenwood thing, I think it just completely wears you down, doesn't it? Obviously, for those of you who are a Mason Greenwood fan, which I know some of you in this community are, Mason Greenwood did make his debut for Getafe yesterday. I think he played about 20 minutes for Getafe in a 3-2 win. So it does look like Mason Greenwood is slowly starting to play football again. That was obviously the first time he's played in a professional football match since the whole incident happened. So we'll have to wait and see what happens there. Does he come back in January? Potentially. Let's see what people are saying. Antony says, our defence is down mostly because of Casemiro's form, which builds pressure on the defence and keeper. When will Sofian Amrabat be back? Mate, I 100% agree with you. Casemiro has been very poor this season. Very poor. He doesn't look fit. He looks like he's lost a bit of his legs. He looks like he can't keep up with the pace anymore. He's jogging around. And that's a massive concern because he was our best player last season, I would say, for most games. Obviously, Rashford got all the goals, but in the defensive game, he was unbelievable, wasn't he? And he's been absolutely awful this season. Scott McTominay's not even worth having on the pitch. Christian Eriksen, I think his legs are gone as well. I think he's past it. And then who else do we have? Amrabat, obviously we need to come back and play. In relation to when Sofian Amrabat will be back, I have no idea, to be honest with you. Knowing Manchester United, it'll probably be a month or something, won't it? Let's have a look if I can see anything about Sofian Amrabat. So it says United players set to return from injury. Erik ten Hag expects more players to return from injury against Burnley next Saturday. Blah, blah, blah. It says Raphael Varane, Mason Mount, Sofian Amrabat and Kobe Mainoo and Ahmad were all among the absentees for the 3-1 loss. Ten Hag is hopeful he will have a fuller squad at Turf Moor. So I think we can kind of look towards that game more than the Bayern Munich game. I think from what we're hearing this morning, it looks more like these players will be available for the Burnley game on Saturday, which is a massive game. We have to win the Burnley game. Like I said that about Brighton and we lost, but if we lose against Burnley, obviously that will be. I don't even know where we'll go from there. I mean, Burnley are what? Are they down the bottom of the table? Have they even won a game yet? Like we have to go and beat Burnley away from home. But knowing Manchester United, we'll probably lose, won't we? At the moment, like I know we should support our team, which obviously I do. I'll support them for everything, but. Yeah, I am quite concerned about that match. You know, every time, I mean, yeah, Burnley are literally 19th. They haven't won a single game yet. They just lost to Tottenham 5-2 at home. So we've got to go and beat them. We really, really do. But it's, it's Vincent Kompany, ex-Man City legend, away from home. People are saying Erik ten Hag's job's on the line, all the rest of these things. It's a massive, massive game for Burnley. And it just will be a case of who wants the game more, really, because we saw on Saturday that Brighton, on paper, had a weaker team than Manchester United. Yet we still lost the match, didn't we? Purely because of mentality. They wanted it more. They were better drilled, and all the rest of it. So, yeah. But yeah, let me know what you think about that one. How are you feeling about the Burnley game? I'll be honest, I'm pretty concerned about the Bayern Munich game. I think for us to get anything away at the Allianz Arena will be a shock for me. I am expecting us to go there and lose, but we have to win the game against Burnley. We have to. There's no excuses. It has to be a win. But let me know what you guys think. And just a quick one as well. Can everybody who's watching, please go and smash a like on the video. Please do subscribe to the channel if you're new. We're on the road to 20k subscribers. So let's see how quickly we can hit that. We're about 70 away from 18,700. So please do go and subscribe if you haven't already. It doesn't cost any money. It's completely free. So get involved. Let's see what people are saying in the chat. People are saying, do you know why the female dropped the case against Antony? No, I've got no idea, mate, to be honest. And I'm not really going to do any speculation on have they been paid off and stuff like that, because I think it's a little bit distasteful, to be honest. But I don't know, so I'm not going to I'm not going to spread fake news. Let's see what we've got. Right, let's move over to this bit of the show, which I want to open up to the whole chat here this morning. And the topic we're going to talk about is this. Is Erik ten Hag's job safe? Now, I want you guys to let me know in the live chat, in the comment section, what is your thoughts on this topic? Obviously, it's an open-ended question. There isn't a right answer. There isn't a correct answer. People will have differing opinions. And I want you all to get your points in the comment section. And I'm going to give you mine first, and then I'll read out some of yours. So get some of your feelings in the live chat, and I'll read out mine now. So my stance on this situation is, I think Erik ten Hag's job is safe. And I had to think about this whilst I was eating my breakfast this morning, right? And you're going to be a bit... you're probably not going to have thought of this. I'm coming at it from a completely different angle, right? And you're probably going to think, I hadn't even thought about this. Now, Erik ten Hag, for me, is the right man for the job, okay? I think he is. I think he has all of the capabilities to succeed at Manchester United if the staff around him are the right people. If he has a director of football like he did at Ajax, if he has the right scouts like he did at Ajax. He didn't buy the players at Ajax. That was up to the director of football. He needs all of that. He needs the infrastructure around him. He shouldn't be dealing with buying players. He shouldn't be, suggesting Onana, Antony. He should be having someone else do that job for him. All of that needs to change, okay? So I'm not going to blame Antony, Onana, whatever on Erik ten Hag, because that shouldn't even be his job in the first place. Brighton don't do that. Brighton, literally, the club buys the players and the manager just has to
They buy the players based on what Brighton's philosophy is. Manchester United don't have a philosophy at the moment. We haven't, I don't think, for 10 years. We sack a manager every 1 to 2 years, right? And every manager comes in with a different philosophy. Some play counter-attacking, some play possession-based, boring football. Like that's just how Manchester United has been. We don't have a signature style anymore, like Brighton do, like Man City do. Brighton, Man City. If they sacked Pep Guardiola today, they would already know who could come in and replace him and carry on playing in the same style as him. Whereas if we sack Erik ten Hag today, someone's going to have to come in and play a whole new style of football, because at the moment we don't really have a style of football, do we? And that all boils down to the people behind them, because they're not bringing in players to complement a certain style of football. They're just bringing in random players and chucking them all together. That's all we've done for the last 10 years. You bring in superstar players, you throw them all in a squad together. It's like playing FIFA. If any of you play FIFA Ultimate Team or whatever, you can have a team where you have like Ronaldo, Mbappe, Messi all up front, and that probably wouldn't work in real life, would it? Because none of them are willing to track back, none of them are willing to press, none of them are willing to defend. But on FIFA, I'm sure obviously you'd score loads of goals, wouldn't you? And you'd win loads of matches. It's kind of like that. I see Manchester United a little bit like FIFA, We just buy world-class players, or some of them maybe are past their best, chuck them all in a team together. There's no philosophy, there's no style of play. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And that's ultimately what we are. Whereas Brighton, Man City, all of these other top teams, even Arsenal now to some extent, they bring in very specific players for specific positions based on what they want the team to do as a whole. And sometimes people are like, oh, why the hell have Arsenal bought Kai Havertz? There'll be a reason why. It will be because he does something that Arteta and, the team behind Arteta think complements their style of play. Whereas Mason Mount, I mean, what does Mason Mount do in our system? Our system at the moment is pretty much counter-attacking football. Mason Mount probably isn't good for counter-attacking football, is he? Like, it doesn't make any sense. And I think it's going to take a long time for us to get to that point. And as Ashage says in the chat, it's the hierarchy around him that are letting him down. Now, that's my kind of side on it from a footballing perspective, but I wanted to bring it in from a financial perspective. And you may or may not like what I'm about to say, but I think it's it's important. And I think when I explain it, you will understand. Now, Erik ten Hag has 2 years left on his contract. Okay, he's paid £9 million per season to be the manager of Manchester United. So, if Manchester United were to go and sack him tomorrow, or on Sunday, or whatever, they would have to pay him £18 million in compensation. Do you think the Glazers are going to do that? I don't think so. 18 million. We were having to scrape around the back of the sofa to find some pennies to do a loan move for Amrabat. Where are they going to pull £18 million out from? I just don't think they'll do that from a financial perspective. Why would they? It doesn't make any sense. That is a lot of money, £18 million. And I've not really seen anybody talk about this. And this, you know what, in some ways, this actually proves how bad the Glazers are. Because if a manager needed to go, which I don't think Erik ten Hag does, that would have been one of the main things that they consider. You see Chelsea go and get Potter. How much did they pay for Potter? I mean, it was ridiculous, wasn't it? Because if you actually look at who's available at the moment, right? Say you sacked Erik ten Hag. You have to give him £18 million to leave. Okay, that's the rest of his wages. You have to pay off his contract. Who'd you go and get then? De Zerbi, I would guess. I mean, that's probably the number one name, isn't it, in everybody's list if you were to sack Erik ten Hag. Chelsea pay for Potter. So when Chelsea got Graham Potter, right, they paid Brighton £22 million for Potter. So just think of it like that, right? Say we sacked Erik ten Hag, you'd have to pay him £18 million in compensation to Erik ten Hag. And then you want to go and get De Zerbi? Well, Brighton literally just sold Graham Potter to Chelsea for £22 million. So to sack Erik ten Hag and bring in De Zerbi, if that's who, some of you in the chat say that you want, it would cost Manchester United £40 million, roughly, give or take, based on recent, amounts of money that have gone round. Plus however much, De Zerbi wants as a signing on fee, whatever his salary is and all the rest of it. Like, it's going to cost you probably 40 to 50 million pounds to sack Erik ten Hag and bring in somebody who is at another club at the moment. I mean, when you think of it like that, do you really think the Glazers would do that? I don't think so. I don't think financially, it doesn't make sense for them. But yeah, that's my just take on it. Let's see what everybody's saying though. And let me know what you think of my opinion there or my theory, because I haven't seen anybody discussing it from that angle. Everybody just says, either people say sack the manager, he doesn't have a style of play, blah, 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 okay. And then others are like, don't sack the manager. But no one's actually really fined in on the details of what it would actually take to get rid of Erik ten Hag if that was what was to happen. And it would cost a hell of a lot of money. You know, the same as if you wanted to get rid of Jadon Sancho, you're going to lose a hell of a lot of money. Let's see what people are saying then. Graham says nothing will change until the Glazers have gone. It's up to the fans to make them go. Empty the ground. It's the only way. I agree with you, mate. Nothing will change. David says, are Murta and Arnold's job safe? Their job should be looked at and we should give Erik ten Hag a reasonable chance. He wanted to sell players, but the club failed to. Not Erik ten Hag. 100% agree with you, mate. 100% agree. Somebody says the problem isn't Erik ten Hag. I completely agree with you as well. Jim says Erik ten Hag must be given a chance. The Glazers need to give a manager the first players they want. 100%, mate. Well, do you know what? So, but then you've got Graham saying Erik ten Hag will be gone by Christmas. So there is a bit of a mixture of people in the chat. There's some people saying he's 100% going to stay. There's other people saying that they think he should go. The majority of you seem to want to keep him. Gary says, how long till Erik ten Hag gets fed up and leaves? I don't know, mate. I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't go. If he does just leave himself, to be honest. Al says, didn't they fire Jose Mourinho and Moyes and Louis van Gaal with multiple years on their contracts? They did, yeah, but I don't feel like our financial restraints were as bad then as they are now. I think we're really, really struggling after, obviously, the COVID years, obviously the new financial fair play stuff that's been brought in. I feel like Manchester United are way more conscious of money now, or at least they make out that we are. So I just don't see why they would sign off sacking somebody, which is going to cost them so much money to change. Because, right, think about it. You sack Erik ten Hag, it costs you 18 million to sack him. Say you go and get De Zerbi, that's going to cost you probably 20 million in compensation to Brighton. That's 40 million. De Zerbi might come in and say, right, well, none of these players match my style of play. Antony doesn't work. Mason Mount doesn't work. Do you know what I mean? Like, he might be like, I don't want any of these players. And then they have to go and buy a whole new squad. So, like, it's not just about how much it costs to remove a manager and bring in a manager. It's about how much it costs to actually then be able to give the manager the tools to be able to play whatever style of football that manager wants to play. Does that make sense? And because Manchester United don't have a style of play, that's what I'm trying to get across to you. We don't. For the last 10 years, we haven't had a proper style of play. You see Manchester City, you see Brighton, you see all of these other top clubs, right? They have a style of play. If De Zerbi gets sacked today or leaves or whatever, they will have somebody else lined up as good as De Zerbi, I'm telling you, who will probably none of us have ever heard of, who will play exactly the same style of football as De Zerbi. I promise you it. If you watch any of the interviews and stuff with the directors of football of, I think it's on a channel called Elite Performance or something. Let me just see if I can find it. Yeah, it's called the Elite Performance Podcast. So if anybody's interested in this stuff, some of you might not care. Type in on YouTube after this video. I'll put it in the live chat. Okay. If anybody's interested, go and watch that video afterwards. It's called Elite Performance Podcast Brighton, and it is with the CEO of Brighton. Go and watch it. It's absolutely crazy. It will blow your mind. He literally says that it doesn't really matter to them if players go because they've got the next 3 Moises Caicedos lined up. They've got the next manager already lined up. They already know who's going to be the manager after De Zerbi. Like, they've got it so well worked out that even if something massive happens and they lose McAllister, they lose De Zerbi, they lose Moises Caicedo, they already know exactly who's going to replace them to play exactly the same style of football. Like, honestly, it's inspiring to watch. So fair play to them. Let's see what other people say. Mila says, what's your score prediction for the Brighton game, the Bayern game? I don't want to be negative, but I think Bayern are going to absolutely batter us, to be honest. Richie says, managers are judged on results. If this woeful form continues, who knows? Sacking is a possibility. Poch, who many wanted, is under the same microscope at Chelsea. I mean, yeah, look at Chelsea. They've spent £1 billion, right? And they have... They've been terrible. They've been worse than us. I saw a really interesting infographic yesterday. I'm not trying to make excuses, right? But so far, out of the first 5 games, Manchester United have apparently had, out of all the teams in the Prem, we've had the 3rd hardest run of games, apparently. So obviously we've had Arsenal away, difficult game. Tottenham away, difficult game. Brighton at home, difficult game. And even Wolves is a difficult game. Manchester United usually only ever win or lose 1-0 against Wolves. It's never easy. Nottingham Forest obviously was maybe a slightly easier one. But yeah, I saw an interesting infographic yesterday, and apparently our fixture list so far was the 3rd highest out of any team in the Prem so far. Let's see what else people say. Somebody says, why would you sack someone who has cut the wage bill by 30 million? Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think under any circumstances Erik ten Hag should be sacked. 100%. Even if we lose against Bayern today, even if we lose against Burnley on Saturday, I don't think it's going to get us anywhere further forward. Because as I said, right, just remember this. All those people who say sack the manager, all those people who say get him out, we don't have a style of play. What has been Manchester United's style of play for the last 10 years? There hasn't been one. So if you bring in another manager, they're going to have to then decide what Manchester United's style of play is. They're going to have to then bring in players to complement that style of play. And you can't do that in where we are in the season, can you? So it's going to take probably 2, 3, 4 years to get the style of play, like I said, that Brighton have, that Man City have, that Arsenal have. It took Arteta, 4 years to get them playing how they are now? And all they won was one FA Cup. And that was in his first season after like 2 months. They've won one trophy in 4 years. And that's it. They've only just qualified for the Champions League for the first year, you know? And they're probably not going to win the league this year either. So, yeah, you kind of get a bit of a picture. Well, do you know what? I'm really glad this morning because I thought I was going to do this video and I thought loads of people were going to be saying, get Erik ten Hag out. But I would say 95% of you in the chat this morning are saying, that you want Erik ten Hag to stay. And I think that's really good. I think that's really good because on the weekend, it was like everybody in the chat was just like, sack Erik ten Hag. There was so many people saying get rid of him. And it was really frustrating. And it was just a bit sad to see, to be honest. I get it. People get frustrated when the game's on and, you waste all of your Saturday afternoon watching it when you could be out doing something nice. And, I get it. It's frustrating. I felt the same, but it is what it is. Lee says Klopp took 4 years. Yeah, exactly. Someone's saying do a poll. Okay, I'll do a poll. Can everybody smash a like on the video quickly and subscribe whilst I get the poll set up? So I'm not going to say, do you want to sack Erik ten Hag? Because I think that's a bit distasteful. I'll just say, is Erik ten Hag the right man for the job? Okay, that's a simple enough question, isn't it? So the question is, guys, is Erik ten Hag the right man for the job? So I'm putting it to you, the people. I will keep reading out some of your questions and stuff as well. Get involved in the poll. If you have said yes or you have said no, let me know in the comment section or in the live chat your reasons for it, and I will read them out. We got about 3 minutes left of the video, so I will read out the results of the poll at the end of the video. Let's see what people say. Peter says we can give Bayern a game and it could kick-start our season. Yeah, I mean, the thing you have to remember is, right, obviously Bayern Munich are an unbelievable team, but they did draw on the weekend at home to Bayern Leverkusen, So going there and getting at least a draw isn't completely unimaginable. They have had a good start to the season, Bayern. They've not lost the game yet. They won their first 4 games and then they won their first 3 games and then they drew against Bayern Leverkusen on the weekend. So I don't think they're invincible. Obviously, they're a very, very solid team. But they are a team going through transition as well, you have to remember. Thomas Tuchel only came in last season. I wouldn't say it's a fully firing Bayern Munich just yet. But yeah, hopefully we can go and get a result there. But yeah. Director of Football says, does anybody actually think De Zerbi would actually succeed at United? Do a poll. Would any manager succeed under the present regime at United? I don't think he would succeed. I don't. Because the thing you have to remember is, right, people say De Zerbi, he's come in and he's made Brighton this amazing team. Brighton were already playing the same style of football under Graham Potter. And this is what I've been trying to get across to you for the last half an hour, right? All that these teams do is they have a style of play that the club's going to be known for. Like Manchester United used to have under Alex Ferguson. We were known for a certain style of play. We've lost that now. Brighton have a certain style of play. If they go and sack De Zerbi today, they'll bring in another manager with exactly the same style of play who will continue playing the same style of football. It's as easy as that. They were already playing that style of football under Graham Potter. He hasn't come in and done these miracles and he hasn't. He's obviously a good manager and he's obviously, fits their system, but he hasn't in 1 year transformed them from a relegation club to a fast, fluent style of play. He hasn't. Graham Potter was already doing that, and that's what you guys have to remember. Jim says, keep Erik ten Hag and get rid of the Glazers. Yes, 100%, mate. What else we got? Somebody says, did you hear that Bayern Munich still wants McTominay? Yeah, there was a story floating around yesterday that apparently Bayern were going to come back in for McTominay. We'll have to wait and see what happens with that one. I'll take it with a pinch of salt for the time being. Do I think that Bayern Munich would seriously buy Scott McTominay? I mean, stranger things have happened in football. I would be surprised if they did, personally. But yeah, anything can happen. Yeah, Lee says that Brighton team has been built over 5 years. Exactly that. That's the black and white of it, and that's what we all have to sit here and remember. Okay, let's have a quick look at the poll before we end the video. So at the moment, 86% of you have said that yes, Erik ten Hag is the right man for the job, whereas 14% of you have said no, he isn't. So there's a lot of support for Erik ten Hag still. It'll be interesting to do that poll. Well, hopefully we beat Bayern on Wednesday and then beat Burnley. But I'll tell you what, right? If we don't beat Bayern on Wednesday and we lose to Burnley on Saturday, I will redo the poll and it'll be interesting to see what the results are then. I'm still going to be Erik ten Hag in, even if we lose the next 2 games. Even if we finish mid-table this year, I'm still going to be Erik ten Hag in, because for me, as I've said to you many, many times, what needs to happen is we need to get new owners, we need to get a director of football, a new CEO, and we need to actually have a style of play. And then we need to identify players, not based on how many shirts they're going to sell, but based on whether they'll fit within the style of play that we're trying to achieve. And if that happens, and then Erik ten Hag still fails, then maybe, yes, sack him in a couple of years. But for me, until those things happen behind the scenes, I think it's just pointless. We'll bring in a new manager, it will fail, we'll sack him. We'll bring in a new manager, we fail, we sack him, you know? And that's my take on it. Obviously, yeah. But I'm going to wrap up the video here, guys. Thank you so much to everyone who has joined me this morning. Please do make sure to smash a like and subscribe on your way out. This has been Daily Red Devil. I've been Kieran, and I'll catch you all later.